Well, today on the vacation, we were leaving Glacier National Park, heading east to intersect with the road that would take us into Canada, into Waterton Lakes National Park. So we are on our way, and this is the beautiful landscape along the way that we got to see. I believe we're still on going to the Sun Road. I could be wrong. This is like 28 years ago, but I'm doing my best to remember. Yeah, this looks like Glacier still. I apologize for the graininess of the film and the lack of crystal clear focus, but this was filmed with a Sony Handycam recorder stereo, and then to 8mm tape, and then these tapes were transferred to digital. So this is the best you can come up with, and I actually subjected these to a video enhancer as well. I believe what we're looking at is St. Mary's Lake and the Wild Goose Island. Oh, there was a still moment there. Various overlooks to look at this iconic little lake, little island. It raises about 14 feet above the level of the lake. Again, as I've said in other videos, why this is particularly an iconic picture from Glacier, I don't get it, because there are a lot more fascinating views. And here we are in Waterton Lakes National Park. So we're looking out across the big lake here, the first one you come to when you enter the park. Over there in the distance, I believe are stores or lodging. I don't even remember going there when we got to this location. But behind us is the Prince of Wales Hotel. It's a popular lodging destination for people going to Waterton Lakes. Really quite beautiful. Now, this is the beginning of the Bear Hump Trail to go to the Bear Hump Summit. It is a very steep trail with a lot of switchbacks. You may walk 25 feet, and then you come to a switchback, and then you've got to turn and go up, another part of the trail, and it is truly exhausting. I was not an older person when I did it, and it was still exhausting. But as I was sitting and resting, a truly older guy, probably in his 60s or 70s, encouraged me to get up and go on. Eventually, my whole family made it to the summit. And this is the top of Bear Hump. This is the summit, and these are the views. Way, way down there is the Prince of Wales Hotel that we were at not too long ago. And this gives you pretty much almost a bird's eye view of the whole area. Again, I do not think we spent any time driving around looking at these various buildings, and be it cabins or whatever. I mean, we were there for the scenery, all those kind of visuals. And we had a lot of places still yet to go on this vacation, and a lot of distance to cover. But at the top of the summit, they did have benches for you to sit down on and relax, as well as benches during the steep climb. I don't know what the change in elevation was, and I don't know how many miles the trail was. But easily done within between an hour and 2 hours. So what do we have here? This is Devil's Tower. Definitely had to see this. Now, when I got up closer and looked at this, it looked like a large geological formation known as columnar lava. I could be wrong about that, but I've seen a lot of other formations of columnar lava, and they are like hexagonal stacks locked tightly together. And the Devil's Tower sure looked like that. When you get up close, that looks exactly like a columnar lava formation. There's a famous one in the British Isles. I think it's called the Giant's Causeway. And here we have the ubiquitous prairie dogs. My kids were thrilled with these guys. And you know, they are quite aware that you were there. And if you dare to head out into their territory, they quickly go underground. They know the distance, how far away you are, and they know when to disappear. But it was nice being able to film them and look at them. Yeah, along with landscapes, I think vacations in areas like this are also about the wildlife. I don't know the scientific name of these guys, but that doesn't matter. Now I'm going to zoom in on Devil's Tower, and I want you to look closely with me right in the center of the screen. That is a guy climbing Devil's Tower. I was shocked. I had no idea that people did that. But there he is. And it looks like he's free climbing. I didn't see any evidence of him using cables or any of that stuff. Clamp-ons. I didn't see any evidence of hooks or anything like that. Now, I doubt it would be allowed for earlier climbers to leave stuff for future climbers to use, because this is a park. This is a governmental area, and I am sure they would not allow you to do that sort of thing. So here's the pile of rock that's at the base of Devil's Tower. I did not make my way all the way up there for the simple reason my kids would have wanted to come with me. There's some more climbers, and I didn't want them climbing over all that rock because it's just a twisted ankle or a broken bone waiting to happen. So you got to play it safe when you're visiting somewhere with your kids. They were not of the ages to be climbing all the way up to the base of the tower. I would have liked to have done it if I was by myself, but I wasn't. This is about as close as I got to give you somewhat of a vertical view up the side of Devil's Tower. And here we are at Mount Rushmore in Keystone, South Dakota. It is a national memorial, a massive sculpture carved into Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills region of South Dakota. It was completed in 1941 under the direction of Gutzon Borglum and his son, Lincoln. The sculpture's roughly 60 feet high granite faces depict U.S. Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Now, as we were driving around going to our next destination, we came across buffalo. And I do not remember seeing any fences keeping these guys in. They just seemed to be out there by the highway. And it was, that was surprising to me. When I think of all the hundreds of thousands of these guys before, that was something. Now, this is the mammoth site of Hot Springs. And they have an ongoing demonstration, archaeological dig. And all this is housed under a roof inside of a huge building. Now, you were not allowed to go down into the actual excavation area, but of course you were allowed to take pictures and videos and all that. But to see the mammoth tusk and their skulls, I'm zooming in there on a jaw with teeth, and here is a tusk, well preserved. There's another tusk. If you're into ancient animals, I recommend going to this place. Now, those are teeth. Those are molars of the mammoth. What they used to grind up all the various vegetation that they ate. They were huge herbivores. Some of you may have heard in the news recently of the genetic creation of essentially a long extinct dire wolf, several of them, using ancient DNA extracted from various extinct animal parts. The big project of that company is to try and resurrect and create the first living mammoth. Now, what they do is they get these cells and eggs and whatnot fertilized, and then they grow them in the uterus of another animal. I believe the dire wolf was grown inside of a large hound. Now, this, I believe, was a replica. I could be wrong, but this would be a small mammoth that the boy was carrying around. And this is a picture showing how they would fall into pits and be trapped and eventually buried, and you'd have their bones preserved. Hands-on education for the kids. Now, my guess is, talking again about that resurrecting extinct mammoth, if they did get the cells set up with DNA from ancient mammoth DNA extraction, they would probably have a surrogate of a regular elephant to deliver that infant mammoth. Now, how they would get an elephant to take to nursing a hairy elephant, which is not an elephant but a mammoth, I don't know. Maybe all that would be done by nursery workers in some facility. But it's a fascinating idea, very reminiscent of the ideas presented in the movie Jurassic Park, where dinosaurs were resurrected, so to speak. Now, here's the articulated fossil skeleton of a mammoth to give you an idea of size. I was walking under and filming upwards towards the ceiling. Pretty huge beast. And our ancient ancestors hunted these guys. This is the Black Hills area of South Dakota. And you had a lot of rock formations like this that we're looking at. I don't know what species pine that is. I'm guessing lodgepole, but I could definitely be 100% wrong. I'll have to look that up later on. But these rock spires rounded off, sticking up out of the forest, was very interesting. And here we are on basically the last part of our vacation out west. This is the Badlands National Park, again in South Dakota. So if you look at all these videos, parts 1, 2, 3, and then this one, part 4, you will tour in many areas out west, kind of on a big loop, beginning in St. Louis, areas before you get to the Tetons, then Yellowstone, and then Glacier National Park, Waterton Lakes, the Bear Hump, the Devil's Tower, Mount Rushmore, the Black Hills, and the Mammoth Site. And finally, here we are in the Badlands National Park. It's a lot bigger area to drive through and look at and hike around than you would imagine. And again, you have to see it in person to see all the various colors, the nuances of shades in the stone. I found it quite beautiful. And I just love erosional features done over a long time. One thing that hit me when I took another vacation and I was out in Canyonlands, Utah, I believe. The massive stones, the massive structures that towered above you. In Canyonlands, you kind of drive down in the base of the canyons and then look at the walls up around you. It struck me that this stuff has been here so long, and my lifespan is so short. And the other subjective thing that hit me looking at ancient erosional structures is that God is in no hurry, man. He's done what he's done, and he's doing what he's doing, and he's going to do what he's going to do, and he is not in a hurry. But that's a whole nother subject. And if you're curious about subjects like that, I do have videos. Yeah, I have videos discussing things like that on my channel, be it creationism or contemplating what is human existence all about. Kind of deep. If you're into it, check my channel and have a watch. But back to this video here, we're still in the Badlands. And we're still just taking it all in. You can see the stratified layers in the Badlands showing different times of deposit, different minerals, and then the erosional features. Now, you know, in some parts of the world, where people were not wise about their forestry practices and cutting down a lot of trees, when the rains came, they got their own badlands because the soil was washed away and they were left with these incredibly deep ruts, very much like the Badlands. But over time, with care and with foresight, a lot of these man-made badlands were restored and more trees planted and no more vicious cutting without thinking ahead. We got governmental institutions and guidelines for farmers all across the U.S. to help them not to create their own bad land by bad farming practices. So here we are back home again, and if you look on the side of my car, I rubbed Dental Floss Tycoon in honor of Frank Zappa. Moving to Montana soon, going to be a dental floss tycoon. Boy, I got a lot of horns blowing at me as I drove along.